Eamon Khan here for Seconds Out with Matchroom Boxer. Matchroom Boxing's
Match Boxer. No,
it's a new one. It's
never
a new
know.
one. Matchroom
Good
Matchroom
numbers.
Matchroom Boxing's Eddie Hearn. Eddie, look, I know the focus is boxing. That's what we're going to talk about. But we're moments away from England's match. What's your feeling for Southgate's men against Holland?
Really good, actually. I mean, that's just me all over, isn't it? You're never going to hear me go, "Oh, I'm really worried. I don't think we'll win," because I'm just always a believer, and maybe that's sometimes the detriment of England fans. But you got to believe, and I think that the penalty win is massive for us because historically we've always fallen short in crucial penalty moments, and I think you got five. I was going to say kids, but five young men there who have all, as the famous no context Hearn meme goes, all have got a right set of bollocks on, and to step up under, like you imagine, right? We're so negative, aren't we, as a nation? And we're almost like waiting for someone to fuck up so we can jump all over them. It's like, I feel like that's a real British mentality. So you imagine stepping up for those penalties, basically knowing that if you miss this penalty, you are going to be one of the most hated people in our country, and you are going to be abused for years and years to come. I mean, that's the reality, isn't it? I know that's a bit nasty, but that's what we're like. You've seen it before, whether it's Southgate, whether it's Saka, whether it's they got ridiculous amounts of criticism and abuse, right? So to step up and come through that, I think it's massive. And I think that would be a huge shot in the arm for their confidence. I think they'll start playing with a lot more belief. And I reckon it's all going to come together at the right time. Listen, Spain's a great team. So you've got two tough matches to get through to win it. But we can do it. I really believe we'll win today, actually. But famous last words, up the England.
Speaking of a set of, and I won't repeat it, but both Jerome Boots Ennis and David Avanesian as well taking up the spot there. What can we expect from the card, and what can we expect from the fight as well, too, from two really good fighters?
Yeah, I think we're flying in America. I mean, the last few in America have been incredible. Subriel Matias against Paro, the big upset there in front of 9,000 in Puerto Rico. Bam against Estrada. What a moment that was in front of 9,000, probably like 13,000 this week in Philly. And I think it'll be a great fight. I think Avanesian, we know how tough he is. He's got a good old team in Carl Greaves and Neil Marsh, who you talk about glass half full. They are the epitome of that. They really fancy it. They're really up for it. And I love that. I want someone to come and stick it on Boots, and try and see if they can test it. I think it'll be a tough fight for a few rounds, and then Boots will find his rhythm, and I think he'll stop him. But it's a massive moment for him. And I just did an interview before about homecomings. They don't always work out. You look at Subriel Matias, recently. I think if he can come through with a great performance, then, we're going to be in a brilliant position with this young man's career.
Coming through the rest of the card, and also, Eddie, I thought the matchmaking for Jalil Major Hackett versus Pete Dobson was a little bit curious, just because in a sense as well, too, Ed, that you had Ben fight Dobson recently, and it was a bit of a fight where Ben came up with some criticism after it. If Hackett comes out with an emphatic victory, does it make Ben look a little bit weaker?
I don't really buy that, to be honest with you. I mean, I think I'm not here to matchmake down the line to make other people look good and bad. At the end of the day, you had the fight, right? So I actually think Dobson's a good fighter. So although I don't think it was the greatest performance from Conor, I think Dobson's massively underrated. I mean, what was he then? 15, 16-0? He's not a bum. He's sparring all the top guys in Brooklyn. Defensively, he's very clever. I actually think this could be potentially bad matchmaking for Hackett. I've got to be honest. What's he had? 8 fights?
Yeah.
7 knockouts? Don't get me wrong. I think he could be one of America's next superstars. But Dobson's really clever, and he can old man you in there, and he did that to Conor at times as well. So this is actually a really intriguing fight. And by the way, for the same token, I look at it slightly different to you. If he does go in there and blow away Dobson, it's a massive statement because Conor couldn't. We're not here to protect someone down the line. Don't put him in with him because that might make him look bad. Like, it's just, it's on Hackett now. And that's a really good fight. Sky Nicholson's got a defence of her world title. Big puncher, Diana Vargas, I think she's 18-1 with 12 knockouts. Khalil Coe, who I truly believe will fight for the world heavyweight title in 2025. I think he's fantastic. Christopher Pitbull Diaz as well. Christian Carter from Philadelphia. And then a couple of Bootses, young kids from the area that are sensational talent. So it's going to be a wild atmosphere in there on Saturday. And the main event is going to be a lot of fun.
Do you know you owe a large part of your career to Holland, Eddie?
I owe a large part of my career to Holland. Go on.
Apparently, a gentleman by the name of Harry Holland introduced Anthony Joshua to you at a Boxers Writers dinner at the Savoy many moons ago. Is that true?
Not really. I mean, Harry Holland I love. He's got some great stories, Harry. But he definitely knew Anthony Joshua back then, and he would have definitely put in a good word. There's a lot of people that put in a good word for me for Anthony Joshua. But yeah, he definitely knew AJ, and I knew Harry well. He's a great character. But I love the tie up there between Holland and the Netherlands. And that was we talk about clutching straws. That was right up there.
Well, I wonder what you feel about this one, because a lot of people have this say, of course, about Anthony Joshua, and Simon Jordan has said, look, if Dubois lands on AJ, the phrase has been called banded about PTSD, gets sent back to Ruiz fight, to get sent back to Klitschko, dropping him. Why is there this feeling that AJ is fragile?
God, I don't know. I mean, AJ is a really, really good chin. I mean, if you go back to the Klitschko fight, watch the shots that AJ took in the Klitschko fight in round 5 and 6. Watch the right hand that would have decapitated a normal man that AJ got up from. And then even in the Ruiz fight, I mean, look, we all know he got hit on the top of the head against Ruiz. He never really recovered, but he kept getting up. And even in the Usyk fight, with all due respect, Usyk hit him with a kitchen sink. And he never had him out. He never had him, his legs would never gone. He was knackered at the end. But look what happened to Tyson Fury. Never saw AJ like that in that fight. And he took the kitchen sink. He got hit hard by Povetkin. Obviously, he got hit hard by Dillian Whyte. But AJ's got a great chin. But Daniel Dubois hits very, very hard. And if you get hit flush by Daniel Dubois, there's a very good chance you will be in trouble. It's not like Simon Jordan's analysis. It's not exactly... I think if AJ gets hit clean by Daniel Dubois, he could be in trouble. Well done. Fucking no shit. I mean, of course, anybody would. And guess what? If AJ hits anyone clean, they're in fucking big trouble as well. That's why it's a tremendous fight. I mean, the fact that they're two Brits fighting for the world heavyweight title, fantastic. But it's a really, really good, dangerous fight. So I don't get the whole, he's fragile. He got hit hard against by Franklin. I know he's not a massive puncher, but they can all punch. Franklin, Usyk, Povetkin, Parker, Ruiz. I mean, the list goes on. Dillian Whyte, Vladimir Klitschko. He's fought everybody. So there's nothing wrong with AJ's chin, but these boys can all crack. And if they hit you clean, it's going to be a problem.
Speaking of heavy hitters, I saw that AJ reached out to Alex Pereira Poatan. He said he should make his boxing debut one day, and he responded back saying, look, I'm 37. Who should I fight? Eddie, you're the promoter. Who should he fight?
I don't know, maybe the Joyce Chisora winner or loser.
Interesting. Moving on from that then, Eddie, it seems like it's a 2-horse race with you and Floyd Mayweather for Shakur's signature. Where are you in that race then?
I speak to Shakur every now and again. I spoke to him. I think he's going to come to the show on Saturday. I think right now, Shakur Stevenson is one of the most talked about fighters in the world. Right? I mean, especially since he's fighting. He rated extremely well on ESPN. as I understand it, there was a really good crowd in Newark. And I feel like because there's no one promoting him, because his contract's up, no one's going to be spinning that narrative. So right now, and it has been like this for a while, it's Shakur against the world. Yeah. So there's no one up there, no promoter, no mouthpiece, no megaphone saying this kid's pound for pound elite. This kid's doing huge numbers in Newark. Look at the ratings of this kid on ESPN. Instead, it's just him battling away on Twitter, which, you know, I don't always recommend, because I think you can never win. The reality is, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, Shakur Stevenson may be unbeatable. And I've said that about other fighters in the past. I know Devin Haney was one of them. Obviously, he got beat, but not really now, against Ryan Garcia. But Shakur's brilliant. He's brilliant. You know, and sometimes his style is not all-out aggressive Arturo Gatti. But guess what? He's winning these fights, really fighting them the way that he wants to fight. And I think when you see him fight Tank, when you see him fight, maybe even Zepeda, you're going to see the best Shakur Stevenson. And he is really good. I know I can make him a start, because that's easy for me, in all honesty. I mean, he will come to Philadelphia on Saturday, he will look around and he will go, fuck me. And that's what we do. So for me, it's easy work with Shakur Stevenson. I've got the dates, I've got the platform, I've got the megaphone. Let's do it. But the deal's got to be right for everybody, you know, and there's got to be that buy-in from him that we've still got a little bit of a job to do, you know, but it doesn't take long, as you can see with Boots. Boots shines this weekend. We're there, mate. Fucking talk about one of the biggest stars in the sport already. I've only had him for 4 or 5 months. And I can do that for Shakur, easy work. And I rate him, again, I rate Boots as top 5 pound for pound. Same with Shakur.
Where were you in the race for Chris Eubank Jr., which has now been won by Boxxer and Ben Shalom?
I mean, we had a conversation, not myself, but I think Frank Smith spoke as a team. As I understand it, he wanted 2 sort of gimme fights to come back to. He's been inactive for a long time. He's been out for a year. I don't know where they're up to with the Canelo stuff. Doesn't sound to me like that's happening, but who knows? So we wanted to give him 1 fight as that sort of warm up and then fight Conor Ben, but he wanted 2 fights. So they messaged Frank, I think last night, just to say, look, we're going to do these 2 fights and then we'd like to fight Conor Ben. So we'll keep that communication open, but I guess he'll return in those 2 easy fights in August, September, and then December.
What fight would have been the warm-up for if he'd signed with you guys?
Warm-up?
Yeah.
I saw 4 or 5 names mentioned. I don't want to put anyone, you know, take anyone's negotiation positions away, but no, just like, you know, like just a fight to come back to, because he's been out. I think it's nearly a year since he's boxed Liam Smith, or coming up to in August, September, or something like that. So yeah, but I just wanted him to have, if he wanted that, just 1 of those and then fight Conor, but they wanted 2, and I think Boxxer gave him those 2 easy fights.
My colleague Danny Flexen spoke with Johnny Nelson MB. He said he's quite sure that yourself and Frank Warren aren't too happy with Ben Shalom having a spot within the Saudi mix. Is that the case?
Johnny Nelson, I think he's like a wind-up merchant these days. No, absolute rubbish. We recommend, myself, Spencer Brown and George Warren all recommended the fighters that are on the card from Boxxer. So we were looking at Hamza Shiraz to fight Felix Cash if he won. And when he lost, we all said, let's put him with Tyler Denny. George Warren was the one that pushed Willie Hutchinson to fight Joshua Buatsi. So no, we don't, like, we're not trying to keep anything in-house with reality, because 1, we think we won't be making the best fights, but 2, His Excellency wouldn't allow that anyway, because he doesn't care who's with who. You know, Turkey never looks at it and says, oh, I want to make sure it's only Matchroom fighters, make sure it's only Queensberry fighters, make sure it's only Gold Star fighters. He looks at the fights. So, no, I mean, Johnny Nelson's wild at the moment. He's I like Johnny. Like I said, A1 company man. Like he would literally, yeah, I won't say it, but he's when he's on your side, Johnny, it's great to have because he will say anything. Especially that Gervonta Davis would get beat by James Tennison.
Eddie, a couple of quick final things. So I really appreciate your time here. First of all, I saw that you were at the F1 this past weekend. I think it was. There was also another interesting observer in the interesting person in the clip I saw. It was Ben Whitaker. I wonder if you had any conversations with Ben, someone who said you'd like to, join forces with in the future.
Oh yeah, look, I love that. I mean, look, it's only a matter of time before Ben's with Matchroom. I mean, that's the reality. I think personally. I mean, call me deluded, but obviously we won't interfere with any contract or any negotiations. I've never spoken to Ben since he's been with Sky, and I wouldn't after. But in my mind, if Ben Whitaker wants to be a global superstar, it's only one place to be, and I think the link up is inevitable. But we'll see what happens in the future.
I'm not just speaking about any fighters here, but in a general sense, look, now that that Saudi mix is involved, how do you know that if a fighter, whether on a small scale or a big scale, wants to sign with yourself, how do you know that it's not for a ticket to that Saudi mix as opposed to your promotional nous?
I think, the ticket to Saudi doesn't have to come through Matchroom. I mean, ultimately, if His Excellency likes a fighter, then it doesn't matter what promotional company he's with, honestly. So, yeah, we can provide a ticket to Saudi, but so can a lot of promoters. I think for us, it's more looking at the size of our shows and particularly the global landscape and the schedule. Like Ben Whitaker headlining in Wolverhampton at the Baths is not beneficial for his career. He should be fighting in front of 15,000 in Philadelphia this week. He should be fighting in Puerto Rico. He should be fighting on the BAM Estrada card. He should be fighting on the Riyadh season card in Los Angeles. So, look, he's got a contract and he'll have to see that contract out. And when the time comes to have those discussions, then we will do. But, a lot of it's about matchmaking. And if you look at the matchmaking of Ben Whitaker, I think he's stuck in the mud a little bit. And actually, his last couple of performances, he hasn't looked that great because it's been poor matchmaking. They should be stepping him up at a pace. He can really fight, and he'll look good against better opposition. So, but the problem is they can't afford to bring in great opposition because it's very expensive. So I get it. So, but otherwise you're stuck in the mud and you're treading water. So look, good luck to him, and I'm sure we'll see him one day.
Good luck to you as well this weekend. Much appreciated.